Welcome to Faith on Film with Isaac Hernandez and Holly McClure. Keeping you informed on faith and family entertainment.
We are so glad you've tuned into today's show. Holly, it's an exciting show, but
it is.
When you were a kid, did you ever dream of like going up in space? Because I know I did when I was a kid. How about you?
When we were kids, Isaac, it was like, you can be an astronaut, you can be the president, you can be these things. And we were like, okay. When I was a kid, it wasn't like girls were astronauts. So that was pretty much a guy thing. It really wasn't, women didn't really dream about it. You know, I wanted to be like the actress or the person on stage or whatever, but it was inspiring. I remember the first moon when they landed on the moon. I remember watching that and everyone was so enthralled and how exciting that was. So space has always been exciting.
But is that whole idea of becoming an astronaut only for, let's say, the high, folks that go to major Ivy League colleges or something like
only
that?
Only for really smart people.
For really smart
people. Which wasn't me.
Yeah, that's why I became a TV director instead.
Exactly. I'm a film critic. Clearly, I'm not that in the category. So yeah.
But you know what?
But let's show the people what we're talking about, because this is going to be an amazing movie. Everyone needs to watch and see. All ages are going to enjoy this one.
Well, yeah, we have a trailer to a movie that we just recently saw called A Million Miles Away, which is of course premiering on Amazon Prime. And you got a chance, which by the way I'm very jealous about. You got a chance to talk with the actual astronaut that the movie's about. So we'll take a look at the trailer and then we'll come back and watch your interview.
And the director.
With Jose Hernandez. Hey, Hernandez. Yeah.
Yay!
And the director of the movie. So let's take a look at the trailer and then we'll come back to you, all right?
So, what's your big goal, dream?
I want to be an astronaut.
Oh my God. You're serious? Okay.
I wanted this for almost 30 years.
Ma, ¿por qué sirven las estrellas?
Every decision I've made with the space program in mind.
Who the hell are you?
I'm Jose Hernandez, sir. I'm an engineer.
You're the new guy, right? That third floor men's room needs toilet paper.
Going to space. It's a stupid dream. Last 10 candidates were chosen from 12,962 applicants. It's never gonna happen.
Those people who got into the program, what do they have that you don't?
They have skills that I don't have. It's taken them years to get where they are, but there's no guarantee. I know this is hard on everybody. My body hurts, I can't sleep. I know I can make this work. Over the last 10 years, I've applied to the space program 12 times, and I've been on the verge of giving up after each and every rejection. But you know what, sir? Here I am. So you could turn me down again, but rest assured, I'll be standing here again in a year.
We grew up watching our people make sacrifices. It's on us now.
Tenacity is a superpower.
This may not be your future, but it will always be your past.
Who better to leave this planet and dive into the unknown than a migrant farm worker?
5, 4, 3, 2.
You're not crying, are you, Pa?
No, hombre, no. Some dirt got into my eye.
How you doing, Holly?
Fine, thank you. And listen, I loved this movie, and my co-host Isaac Hernandez loved the movie as well. We do a show called Faith on Film, and so I did the junket today, but he was wishing he could, because he said, I love this, being, coming from Hispanic heritage and being raised. He loved the values we both did that are in this film and how it showed having that dream. You can't just have a dream and you automatically get it. How you had to work for it to achieve what you wanted. What an inspirational story. I love this movie.
Yes, and what I love more about it is that our esteemed director, Alejandra Márquez Abella, she encapsulated the fact that it wasn't an effort by an individual but it involved a family along the way. First as a kid, my parents, my educators, Miss Young. Later in life, it's my boss at Lawrence Livermore Lab, and it's my wife who makes that
Yes.
that life-changing moment where she says, what do they have that you don't have? And I hadn't even thought of addressing that question. Once I addressed it, I found out they were pilots, scuba divers, knew a third language, and I went off and started acquiring those traits. And thanks to her, we were able to achieve and get selected after our 12th attempt. So it was truly a community, family affair in reaching our dream of becoming an astronaut.
And showing how important, like you said, your wife was, your teacher, your father, and the
Yes.
tips that he gave you on what it would be to achieve your goal and what you would want. What did you think of Michael Peña playing you? What did you think of seeing you on the big screen and seeing your life moments there?
I think he did a masterful job at capturing, in essence, my personality. Because I have humor in me, quite a bit of humor, and so we met. It was during the pandemic, so we didn't meet in person. We met in person on the set, but we didn't meet in person at the beginning. So we had several Zoom calls, and he was able to ascertain what my personality was like, and did a very, very good job at it. And he also did a very good job at portraying the self-doubts I had along the way. Because we all doubt ourselves, especially when you dive into the unknown. You're kind of afraid because you're saying, "What am I getting myself into? Well, am I going to be able to handle this?" And so he did a great job at dealing with those internal demons of saying, "Hey, do I belong?" That imposter syndrome that I overcame and got selected and trained successfully, and then went on that mission.
I read where you were in space for 14 days.
Yes.
And then you came back on 9/11.
Yes, I did.
Today.
Today,
I mean,
today
the
in
importance of this interview.
exactly. It was in 2009. So what is it? 14 years ago today, I was landing at Edwards Air Force Base at 4 p.m., 4 something p.m. We were landing. So yeah, very important day.
And you go back and you think, okay, 14 years ago I was doing that. And before that, 30 years ago, what were you doing? And 35, I read where you said you were picking fruit and vegetables, and little did you know you'd be in space. I mean, this is a dream that a lot of kids used to have. I hope kids will have it after they see this movie.
Yeah, I hope that this represents, or this demonstrates that the American dream is alive and well.
Yes.
That all we have to do is we have to work for it. There's a new concept. You got to work hard. And if you're willing to work hard for it, the American dream is alive and well. But let's work for it.
But you have to work and be diligent. But the reward is so great. And now you pick fruit of a different kind, right? You have your own vineyard. You have a foundation. So you've really picked skill sets and your position to other amazing uses for other people to achieve their dreams.
Exactly. After I left NASA, I became a motivational speaker. I wrote several books. And then I sort of came full circle because you could take a kid out of the farm, but not the farm from the kids. So I bought my own vineyard. I operated with my father helping me because he knows how to operate a vineyard. And I didn't not only stop there, but I also make my own wine. So under the Tierra Luna Cellars label, you too can have a wine made by an astronaut, which is the best tasting wine made by an astronaut, because it's probably the only one. But it does taste out of this world.
Carefully handpicked, no less. And
Yes.
you have a foundation. Quickly tell us what that foundation
Yes, the
does.
foundation, we preach the good gospel of STEM education. We, up and down the Central Valley of Northern California, we have activities that expose our kids to STEM careers: science, technology, engineering, and math. We have a summer academy at the University of Pacific where we have 7th through 12th graders spend 5 weeks every summer. So they see themselves in the campus, they get acclimated to a campus life environment, and hopefully they go into STEM careers.
Well, I think this is a movie for sure. Children to adults, all ages are going to enjoy this inspiring story. Jose, thank you so much for being with me today.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Hello, Alejandra. Hello. So wonderful to be with you.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you.
I loved this movie, and my co-host Isaac Hernandez loved the movie as well. And we felt like it was it encapsulated so much of not just telling an interesting story about someone's life and what they did, but capturing all the elements that were in it: his family, his teacher, his mother. Why did you take on this project? Was it something you had to fight to direct, or was it yours from the beginning?
No, I had to fight. And it was such a privilege to have Jose's story in front of me, because of course I had the inspiration coming from the material itself. So I kept saying, if Jose crossed the NASA doors and entered, into that impossible space, I can do it with the studio system.
So see, it was a story of your overcoming as well as his overcoming, right? To achieve your dream.
Yeah, completely. It was completely like that.
Okay, Michael Peña, I loved him. What a great actor to portray Jose. I felt he was so good in the role, and Rosa, Salazar, and the whole cast. Were you pleased with who they cast for you to work with?
I love them. I think they were perfect. I really wanted actual Mexican Americans or Peruvian Americans to portray the couple, and I think they just light the film with their performances.
What is it? Do you have a favorite scene that you directed, or one of those that you loved it when you walked by? You went, I love it. That was it.
I love the car dealership scene. I love the Primos scene. I love the menacing Cholo Primos scene. Those two I really cherish.
You really cherish. And don't you feel this is a film for all ages, really? Young who dream of being an astronaut, or used to anyway. I hope this inspires other young people to dream to like be an astronaut if they want. To the very older, to sing. If you have an idea, go for it. I think this inspires all ages, don't you?
Completely, I agree. I think that this film should be watched in a family, in a family room with a family, as Mexicans like to do, all cuddled up in the same room watching TV. That's an advice of how people should watch this film.
I felt it interesting that Jose returned from space on 9/11, and today is 9/11. I mean, how profound that he's doing interviews about his movie and his life on the very day that he returned from space.
I know that's a nice coincidence.
Okay, and Variety magazine in 2019 voted you the top 10 directors to watch. Did that put any pressure on you as far as your career, or did that encourage you and inspire you to do even more?
I was so happy when that came out, but I didn't take myself that seriously. It didn't pressure me, because I just kept doing what I do and being myself, and I think that's it. You have to not believe everything people say about you, even the good stuff.
Well, even the good stuff. Well, I think there's certainly a lot of things. This is a wonderful film. I mean, this is a family film that they can watch over and over. And, we are seeing more and more characters, films come out with Hispanic characters and directors even. But, any words that you would like to encourage your young viewing audience, no matter what background or where they come from, as far as watching this film?
Yes, I would say you have to trust yourselves and you have to be confident, because it's fine. With who you are, you're complete. You have everything you need inside you, and it's just a matter of bringing that out, and you'll find your power.
All right. What are you excited to work on next? Is there anything that you've got ready to work on whenever the strike gets over and everything gets back to normal?
Yeah, I'm gonna do some TV, I guess, and then I would love to come back to film.
Alejandro, you are a beautiful director, a beautiful woman, and I love what you did with this beautiful film. Thank you so much. Well, Isaac, I'm pretty sure with the last name Hernandez, you love this movie and the story. Didn't you love Jose? Wasn't he the coolest guy ever? I love him.
I'm thinking he might be a distant cousin. I don't know.
I'm sure you want him to be. He's the one. And it's amazing how he's in that field picking vegetables, fruits,
Right.
crossing over into the US, working for minimum wage, that he would even dream of being an astronaut. And I love, like he said, I love the scene with his wife when he says, what is it? She goes, what do these guys have that you don't have? I love that he realized,
Right.
well, wow, yeah, they're doing things that I'm not doing. And then he went back again. And people will see in this movie, this is a story of overcoming. This is a story of overcoming racist prejudice, and not even racist, but presidential things. For instance, when he walks up to get a key because he's an engineer at this company to go do something with an engineer, the girl gives him the whole ring of keys and says, you can start cleaning the bathrooms and da-da-da, assuming he's the janitor. So there's little subtle things in there that he had to overcome, as well as just going for things in life. And what I really love, Isaac, is the fact that the whole message of this film is family, teachers. It wasn't just one; it was a village. That his teacher did, his wife, how she encouraged him, and that it's not about, well, I want to do that, so it's easy. I want to do that, so everyone wins a prize, everyone wins a token. No, this is something he wanted, and he had to work for it. And God blessed him and gave him that dream. But he worked for it. He did something for it. You don't just sit around and go, "Oh God, okay, hopefully my dream will become true," and then No, you have to do what it takes to be that, whatever it is you want to be.
No, yeah, I totally agree with that. And it really resonates with me because the way I became a director, a TV director, was actually, it didn't just happen like, hey, let me just go and be a director. As I started to volunteer, by the way, so here's the first part. I volunteered. I didn't expect to get a job without knowing what I was doing. I volunteered, and that's how I learned. And then I remember that when people would go to lunch after I did get hired, people would go to lunch, I would go into the director's booth and start messing with the console, which is a lot of buttons and knobs and, things. And I would, while everybody's out there enjoying their lunch, I'm in there working at it. I'm learning. Yes. And when I finally felt, hey, I'm comfortable enough, I said, hey, you all need a Spanish director, because that's the other thing. I spoke Spanish, and they had some Spanish shows with no Spanish director. So I said, I can, the guy says, well, do you know one? I said, yeah, me. But it took me giving of my time and working at it.
And volunteer. Did you know that Jose Hernandez was the first astronaut to text Spanish in space? So he was the first Spanish speaking from space astronaut that we've had. And I think people saw in the interview, I thought it was profound that he came back on 9/11. I thought that was profound. Yeah. And then I did the interview that day. For some reason, that really, and then the director, Alejandra, she was precious. She's, as far as Vanity Fair and people watching her directing, she's really up and coming. And she said she felt she knew the culture. Isn't it interesting, Isaac, that we saw the, was it the Flamin' Hot movie recently that was about the guy who did the Cheetos? We're seeing real true stories with Hispanic cultures and characters. Even the new, was it DC or Marvel movie that came out? We're Blue Beetle. We're seeing these come out more and more, which I think is very interesting.
Well, of course, me as a Hispanic myself, I find that very encouraging, to know. Because, I've been watching TV, of course, since I was a kid, and I remember all the Hispanic characters were always either the gardeners or the bus boys, or just some of those. And I'm not demeaning those jobs, by the way. I mean, somebody has to do those jobs, but it was never, the Hispanic was never the attorney or the astronaut.
Or in cartoons, it was Pepe Gonzalez. Or what's the guy who's around, Speedy Gonzalez.
Speedy Gonzalez, yeah.
Arriba. Yeah, you did it great. Okay, and then talking about your story, my story, I love to do acting, and I was doing commercials in front of the camera, but I remember my neighbor friend had a production studio, and I said, I love doing Hunt Snack Pack and Pampers and commercials like that, but I want to know what goes on behind the camera. And he goes, well, you can come, apprentice for free and sit in on shoots. I said, okay. So I literally used my own time to go see what it did to be a script continuity, what it was to be a set dresser, what was it to be the food prep, every position I learned and studied so that I knew what went on behind the camera. And then that led into me doing movie reviews because there was a need and no one was doing it. And I had two little ones. The PG-13 just came out. So I started writing movie reviews. And then I went to a bigger paper and said, well, would you be interested? And I was a mom and they didn't have that before. So it's how God opened doors. But it was that initial me learning when I'm watching a movie. I watch very differently. I watch what language is being done, how it's shot, how it's filmed, and you, Isaac, you know, because you're a producer too, you look for different things other than, oh, I just saw a movie. You're taking it all in because we've been trained to do it.
Yeah.
So again, it's God, like he just led Jose, it's God leading us into the ultimate to find our gift and our giftings and what our hearts desire. But we did things to work to get here to do it.
Yeah, and by the way, my wife used to hate when we'd watch movies because I would go, oh, that was a bad cut. Oh, did you hear that? You know, and so that was occupational hazard.
I see the mic hanging down, the mic reflection. I see the mic hanging. I mean,
yes,
oh my God.
Yes. Now,
or looking when the car drives by and you're looking for the reflection of the guy shooting
all
it.
kinds of things.
Reflection, yeah.
And most people won't notice that, but because we just have that gifting, I guess we can pick up on those things. And again, it just used to drive my wife crazy. But I don't want to harp on young people, but that's something that I think has been lost now. It's almost like these young people don't really want to put in the time, don't want to put in the effort. They just want it to show up. I saw a Facebook post recently where somebody was, saying that they, if they get hired, that they would want to have all these break, that if they don't want to show up to work, it's okay not to show up to work. And I don't know. I just
well. I think, God gave us work. I mean, he created for 6 days. He rested on the seventh. But he worked from the beginning of time. We've seen God work and do things. He tells us how it's good and healthy for us to do things. I think with the pandemic and, of course, not to get too conspiracy, but some things that happened government-wise shut down people's desire to work, shut down people's desire to get out there and stay in that let's work together to make things happen, whether it's working in a restaurant, whether it's working as a mechanic in a garage, no matter what you're doing, being proud of what you do. And I think some of that was lost. And I agree with you. I think there's a younger generation that just doesn't appreciate that, the work ethic that we're talking about, and having a dream and what it takes to go for it. So many people are like, oh, I dreamed of doing this or I dreamed of doing that. And okay, you dreamed of it, but just because you dreamed it doesn't mean it's going to happen. There's steps and things, and that's what this movie does.
Yes.
It shows the teacher that looked at young Jose and said, "You're good with numbers," and she would call on him, and she said, She recognized the gift and went to the parents and said, "He's got a gift. Don't let this. He's got a gift. He's good with this." It was the fellow coworkers. It was the people. He went for 12 times to turn in his thing to NASA. And on the 12th, I love it. You'll see in the commercial, he goes up to the guy and he hands it to him. And the guy goes, well, you've been here 11 times before. We've had this 11 times before. And he goes, yeah, and if you don't choose me, I'll be back. I mean, he wasn't going to give up.
There you go.
And,
see?
It's that spirit. And I think God really, and that's why I love too his interview about him saying, well, and after as an astronaut, I, own a winery. I'm making wine. I started a foundation to help kids and mothers and people. He used that on to go do things for the Lord and help with his giftings. And I love that too.
Yeah. But now I'm going to harp on the parents a little bit, because another thing that we saw in this movie was that, again, the adults, the parents, and then the teacher, like you said, but the parents really kind of encourage him to follow that dream. Now, at first, if I remember correctly in the movie, at first the dad said, look, we are migrant farm workers and that's what we do. But when they saw that this kid really did have a dream, they pursued they pushed him into that dream. They helped him. They encouraged him. And I totally can relate to that, because I had the same thing. My parents were very encouraging to whatever I wanted to do. That was my dream. And of course, I did say that, I want to be an astronaut, but I didn't really. I just thought that was fun. But from a kid, I wanted to be somehow in the entertainment world, whether it be music or acting or filmmaking or TV. And I remember at the age of 16, I'm a musician. At the age of 16, I said, Dad, I want to have my own recording studio. He went and took the garage and he built me a recording studio at age 16. So that was kind of a big push for me to be immersed. I had totally immersed myself in this. And so it's very important for parents to be involved in their kids' dreams and help them in whatever they need to fulfill those dreams.
I loved acting.
That was my rant.
I loved acting. I loved being in front of the camera. My parents let me join a drama class, a separate, where you go and take the lessons out of school. And they paid for me to do that. And that was a big expense on their part because they didn't have a lot of money with 4 girls to do that. But that was a sacrifice that they made to let me have part of my dream and see that. And in the end, it paid off because in the end, that's what I did. You know, and I love the fact that the father said there's 5 things to do. Now, we're not going to tell you folks what those 5 things are because I want you to watch the movie and hear what those 5 things were. But that was his ingredient of success, is what his dad said, okay, if you really want to do this and fulfill your dream, here's how you're going to get there. And so he laid down, and when the son said it was hard, he goes, I know, but that's what you got to do to make it happen. So again, I agree with you. Parents have to really go in and support. It may not, the kid's dream may not be what you think your child is going to ultimately do, and it may not even be your dream, but don't squelch the Holy Spirit. Don't squelch what God is birthing in that person. You know, if he loves to play army when he's a kid and play for things, he may grow up to be in the military and be an amazing hero or leader. You know, my son would always stir fires around the campfire. He was 2 years old. He would stir fires, and all he wanted to do was build fires with my husband and his dad. And when we go on camping trips from 2, 3, 4, he wanted to be a fireman. I took him to the fire training in high school and weekly took him there. He ended up being a firefighter paramedic. But from 2 years old, that's what he wanted to do. So you just have to encourage your children. And like you said, really be there to coach them along the way.
Interesting that you said military, because of course, you know, my son went into the military. I always wanted him to go into TV production. I mean, obviously, you know, and in fact, he did, and he ended up running a camera that pays very well in Hollywood. And he ended up actually getting some work in Hollywood. He got work at TBN, but then because of a brother I have in Hollywood, he got some work there. And then all of a sudden, he comes to us one day and says, "I'm joining the Army." And, you know, I mean, my wife is the one that told me I was away. She called me up crying, wanted me to talk him out of it. So I went home, when I got home, and I tried to talk him out of it. And I realized there's no way. This is his dream. Thinking, you know, looking back, I said, no wonder he was always out there playing paintball.
Yes.
I mean, he had that since he was a kid. So we changed our way of thinking, and we became very supportive. Oh my goodness, my wife even has almost like a shrine to him. She's got this area with all pictures of him in his military stuff.
Because you're proud, she's proud. And that's what this movie, folks, A Million Miles Away.
Yes.
You've heard us talk about how it inspired us. You've heard us say how it will be important to kids, teens, and adults. I would encourage, maybe not your little toddlers, not them, they won't stay with the story, but this is a good movie for older children to tweens, to teens, to adults. Watch it as a family. Talk about it after. I'm telling you, even though I knew the ending, I was so inspired all the way through. It really will encourage and inspire you.
Well, definitely watch it. It's available on Amazon Prime. If you're watching this show when it first comes out, it just came out. If you're watching it months later, it'll be there. Get out there and watch it. Holly, we've pretty much run out of time again. We just want to encourage people to go to our YouTube channel, by the way, and subscribe. And not only subscribe, but hit that little bell. That way you'll get notified on when new shows come out, which are every week.
And I would love to hear from someone who goes to see this movie. Please, you know, make in the comments on our social media page and let us know how you liked it. I would love to know if you liked this movie and enjoyed this movie as much as we do. A Million Miles Away. Go support it.
A Million Miles Away. All right, Holly, we'll see you next week.
God bless.
Bye-bye now.
Write to us at faithonfilmtv@gmail.com. That's faithonfilmtv@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Faith on Film TV. Also, go to our YouTube channel, Faith on Film TV, and hit the subscribe button and the bell for notifications on our latest Faith on Film shows.